Hello! Welcome to this month's virtue video. This month I'd like to talk about the virtue of prudence. What it is, why it's important, and how we grow in it. So what is the virtue of prudence? It's one of the four cardinal or pivotal virtues. The word prudence is contracted from the Latin word providentia, which means foresight or seeing ahead. Prudence is the ability to govern and discipline oneself by the use of reason. It's often associated with wisdom or insight. So why is prudence important? Well, all virtues have to be regulated by prudence. For example, distinguishing when acts are courageous as opposed to reckless or cowardly is an act of prudence. Prudence immediately guides the judgment of conscience. So without the virtue of prudence, it's hard to know, is my act actually virtuous or not? For a student, it's important to grow in this virtue of prudence because, especially when you get to college, there's a lot of decisions that one needs to make, and one has to be able to know, is this prudent or not? For example, I coached volleyball for a number of years, and oftentimes the players, the student athletes, would stay up really late the night before a match. And as a coach, I'd have to ask that player, was that prudent? To be tired and to stay up late when you know the next day you're going to maybe not feel your best, and lo and behold, they didn't perform well on the court. Or is it prudent to have this group of friends? Or is it prudent to spend this much time doing a certain activity? We have to ask ourselves these questions in our daily life. What actions are actually virtuous? So how do I grow in the virtue of prudence? Well, I would say the first thing is seek counsel. Before making a big decision, or even practicing in those little decisions, ask the advice of someone wise or someone you trust, maybe someone like a priest or a devout friend. Seek that counsel. I would say the next step is make a judgment. Prudence involves weighing options when you're faced with a decision. So pray for discernment to make a proper judgment on the best course of action. Oftentimes people associate prudence with inaction or being passive or not deciding, but it's really the opposite of that. It's knowing what's the right course of action to take and making that judgment. And then finally, be decisive. Discern the best choice or action for you, and then follow through with it and be decisive. It's difficult to practice prudence when we're constantly flip-flopping our decisions or flip-flopping our ideas. So seek counsel, make a judgment, and be decisive. I hope we all have a grace-filled and beautiful time during this Lenten season, and I'll see you again next month. God bless.